Glasses go, Celtic will be there. Feels good being able to enjoy the music again, doesn't it, guys? Fist bumps to you all. Hail, hail. The Celts are here. And we have some unfinished business from yesterday. You guys in the poll on yesterday's live stream wanted us to go through the Martin O'Neill press conference. I also wanted to come back. Now that, yesterday what we did is we kind of went through the changing dynamics in the team with Martin O'Neill returning the formation. We expect to see what is probably looking like the best 11 now going forward. And, just wanted to kind of set the table for what we're going to look at next. So we'll get through the Martin O'Neill press conference that we had yesterday, as well as we had some training footage that we're going to get stuck into. So in case you're watching this after we've been live, fist bump to yourselves. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more content like this, and hit the hype button if you can do so as well. Support the channel and all that good stuff, because today we want to kind of move it on a step, right? We've done a lot of transfer content here on the channel. It's something that, you guys seem to enjoy. I love making it. And we're going to revisit some of the names and faces that we spoke about down the years, and precisely who would we sign, who would I sign, who should Celtic sign in this window to save our season. We'll hear it from Martin himself in the press conference, but it feels like promises have been made. And although Celtic have got maybe a history of letting people down on promises, managers and whatnot, it feels like Martin O'Neill has, a bit more of the cards in his hand. The deck is stacked in his favour when it comes to getting these promises and getting them delivered. So hopefully this will be a wee turning point for us as well. And we had a great question yesterday from you guys. I forget who asked it specifically, but it was, who would you build the Celtic team around? And I really chewed that one over because I actually looked at the whole squad and couldn't really come up with an answer that made me satisfied that this would be exciting or a worthwhile, trajectory to go on. But the penny dropped for me earlier today, and we'll kind of include that in the video as well. So yeah, fist bumps on arrival. Thanks to everyone that's tuning in. Like, subscribe, share, retweet, and all that good stuff. But I thought I would start quite quick off the pace, again, for the benefit of anyone watching this after we've been on live. Fist bumps again to you all that are with us. And just have a look straight at the training footage that Celtic released yesterday, because it's longer than normal. I've not watched it yet myself, but just under 8 minutes. We normally get like a little 5-minute training segment. And I was speaking to somebody in the group chats. They were saying that there's no music. It's all the raw audio. So I just thought this would be interesting to get a wee flavour of atmosphere, a wee flavour of the mood in the camp the morning after, as it were. And oh yes, we'll get to that, Paul Keenan.
Let's go, come on.
Wasn't it a nice day, is it? Looks like a full complement of lads there. Tunecki's meant to be back in the building. I'm not sure if we'll see him in here. Balakwisha's probably flying home. There's Tunecki there. Yep, he's in the building. Just a wee sidestep, guys. Wee sidestep. Kenny and Araujo look up pals.
Okay, onto the white domes, please.
Fozzie, gotta love that smile. Full of mischief. Love the wee sharp whistle. Beep. Should be indoors? Nah, behave, Donny. Behave. Behave. Outside, shorts and t-shirt. The Celtic way. It has been freezing. We'll accept gloves, I think, won't we? Look at Tierney, but no gloves. Nice. Yeah, looking slick, playing between the lines. Dies and crossing. This is the most we've seen, by the way. We don't normally get like we see little sided games for warm-ups. It seems a bit more drilly warm, like, yeah, this is like mechanical. Yeah, this is good. Like McManus. Nice.
Good. Stay calm.
Neck you there.
Stay calm.
Big Villy.
Passes, well on. Yes, good. Excellent. Coming combined. Yes, combined. Play. Good. Austin, well done.
This looks like a training session you'd enjoy being in, doesn't it? Well, this would be fun to do, wouldn't it? Lots of touches of the ball. Lots of activity. There he is. St. Martin. Oh, that's not flattering for Casper, is it? It's not flattering at all, is it?
The other pink, if the ball's down there, can actually almost leave that. And the reason being is that if you then lose the ball, what we want to do is leave the furthest one way. So if we lose the ball into there, forget anything here. We want that and that covered. All right. So what I'm trying to say is, don't be too expansive if you don't need to be. Be in a position where you can connect, but also if you lose it, you can go bang into it. All right. Let's get on that position skip.
I don't know. Yeah. That is at it.
One of the attackers and say 1 touch, 2 touch finish. Don't be nice, Woodsy. But if he decides to go and bang fours, this is a big part of our game. What I'm looking for, wherever fours is.
Don't be nice, Woodsy. Oh. I don't think he's going to need much inspiration to to summon up a bit of bad mood or red energy into the situation. I've heard I love Maldini. He's one of my favourites, and I love listening to all those kind of stories of like Sachi and even Ancelotti and all the rest of it. And I've heard that clip as well, and I think that's part of the thing that when you've got a good squad, see when you hear the trope coming out of being so good at training, like even though the squad players is what I'm trying to get at here, like the big squads, like thinking for example like Cole Palmer when he was at Man City, like was always like in and around the first team, but couldn't get into the first team. Obviously, he was a lot younger and goes to Chelsea and becomes wild. But Pep said, like, when Palmer was first like bursting out with Chelsea, like he was doing that for us in training, like always. We are not surprised one iota. And that with big squads, with dominant squads, with teams that should be at the top of their ladder, their food chain or whatever, one of the things that should be gained is our defense should be. Training should be harder than matches in some cases, and I think we've benefited from that in the past. And it's maybe something we've maybe missed over the last year or so, just by being so light in quality and numbers. And it's maybe one of these factors, one of these variables that is easily forgotten, easily overlooked. But yeah, nice comment. I'm with you all the way on that one, Raja. And this looks like we're maybe not quite doing that, but playing very intense anyway. Celtic v Celtic should be tough,
This is it. This is the midfield I know. I love it. Again, Benji. Well done.
Interesting. So when I look at this stuff, right, see, one thing I'm interested in is the bibs, because it's again, when you're setting up session, I suppose he's got a bit of a body warmer on here as well. He had a bib on top of it. He's got a lot of layers on, just not very flattering, is it? Didn't mean to pause it on him. But, it's all very deliberate. If we just scroll back here, this was a nice wee move. And I think the blue bibs was Bernardo Negrentunecki, is what we've seen here. So the blues will probably be floating. It will be green versus pink, is what I imagine. Or maybe greens will be floating. In blues versus pinks. But yeah, Bernardo, let's just go back again a wee second. Everyone's on greens here. Maybe this is a different little segment. I don't know how they've edited this up. Yeah, that looks a wee bit that looks a wee bit like phase of play, like build up. Yeah, Hatate, Araujo, Tierney, McGregor. Yeah, this feels like patterns of play. Who's this that's picked up the ball?
This is it. This is the midfield.
Is that Benji? McCowan on the right. Again, Benji, yeah. Where's Big Arna? Bernardo for Taneki. Taneki for Negren. So there's some nice little... I seen angles there. In the pink. This looks like more of the players that, you know, this blue versus pink. This looks like more like the players that haven't been playing as much recently. Maybe the exception of Latin Engels, but that's Summers, isn't it? Or that's one of the younger players. Ralphson's been playing a bit more recently, fair, but yeah, here we go. I think this is happening simultaneously. We've got a green phase of play. This is like shape with the main team, and then we've got everyone not involved in that doing pink versus blue. Benji, what a run! Did Kenny miss that run? That was Dyson.
Great introduction again, lads. I like that.
That's Benji, Dyson. And who's on the left here? Hatate? Nope. This feels like a team shape. Who's that? Yang. Yeah, Sean McArdle. Bernardo Scales. With the exception of Engels, these are all players that haven't been starting as much. That Kenny to finish that. Ralston's also played a bit more recently. Oh, Benji. Yeah, I mean, for Donovan training with, you know, that should be, you should get something out of that. The squad standard element, you know. Oh, Araujo. Trusty what you're doing. I suppose it's a small sider. That was great, by the way. I really enjoyed that. Nice bit of insight, which is always welcome. And hopefully that just opens the stream up for everyone to join us. Really enjoyed your live yesterday. Thanks very much, Nords. I'm glad you caught it. I think I've seen a comment from you elsewhere. I meant to say, this is the midfield, I know. All right, Sean Camp. I maybe missed that little bit of chat there. Sorry. But yeah, I quite enjoyed that. And then we'll hear from Martin. And we'll take it from here into, you know, who we should sign specifically and where we're going and transfer fees we should spend and all that good stuff. Because I've actually just seen a little bit of a behind the scenes there, which is going to be helpful for... Let me just go and open this up from what we had yesterday. Because we were trying to... Ooh, the software I've been using, they keep getting nice little updates. They're making nice quality of life changes. So we had... number 3 was Martin O'Neill depth, right? So this was the squad as we see it currently. We've kind of moved. We'll do it again. AJ, Vickers. I guess we can take Iheanacho and Jota to one side at the moment, just for availability and whatnot. But I think, yeah, everyone else here... Odenholm and CeltsAreHere maybe still a wee bit MIA. Yang on the left, Dyson through the middle. Osman's obviously injured at the moment. Shin's right down the pecking order. I didn't even see Shin there. Wasn't overly looking out for him. But I think this might be a new kind of something that should inform us a wee bit here. Yang, Taneki, McKeown, Forrest, the boy, if he comes in. It feels like this is what we're looking at now after that training session, isn't it? Maybe just grab these guys to slide them here. So yeah, this will kind of help us as well with what we're going to talk about after we hear from Martin.
How does it feel to be back?
Gosh, right. I
know a lot of the early stuff has been out there, so I might just skip Like, how does it feel to be back, Martin? So we've probably all heard that.
And supposedly it's to the end of the season, but you have to kind of prove yourself. So need to win some games as well.
I remember the last time you said the players probably need picked up a bit, confidence restored. I assume they are even lower now than they were then. Is it?
No. The last reports I seen, Donny, was that we had a medical team in Israel to... I don't know why I always say it funny like that. Just, I don't know. Makes it easier to say in my head. All the stuff that goes on. But, yeah, so I really don't know. I think it's a weird one. I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't happen. It feels weird. Like, when do we ever go to places to do medicals? We send everyone to London, you know? So it feels like a weird one. And especially now that Tisdale's out and stuff like that, I could see it just getting plug pulled. But again, I'm never against, like I said yesterday, unpolished diamonds, getting the guy before they go to Belgium or Portugal or something. You know, Celtic should be trying to unearth those players. So I'm not against the strategy in general. I just don't see much proof in the pudding beyond progressive running, which is fine. But for where we're at right now, we don't really need a bargain bucket, a doer-upper, you know, type of guy. Yesterday, the thumbnail was good. Yeah, he's all seemed to enjoy that as well. Thanks again, guys, for the support on the stream yesterday. Pity they didn't show the tactical setup stuff. I think they did, Raj. I think there was enough there, considering it's a public video. Some teams are like really transparent. You can see quite a lot of their training, but you'll never see like the overview of probably much more than what we just got. Really, I think that was actually quite insightful.
Is that fair? How have you found them coming in?
Well, I thought. I mean, every new manager steps in and says, "Oh, the training was great today," and it was fine. It was fine. It was nothing more than fine. And but lads are in decent spirits. You know, we had a bit of a meeting here about 10:30 today, and I know honestly they genuinely feel as if they're in good heart. So naturally disappointed with the recent results and the way things have gone. But I'm just hoping that they're up for the battle ahead, and I'm sure they will be.
Martin, you told us the last time when you came back that you had a conversation with Dermot Desmond. He gave you 10, 20 minutes to decide. Could you just tell us the process by which you're returning this time round?
Yeah, it's a very, very good point. He was to the point. He said, "Would you come in?" Again, I think that if you're going to look at a long-term appointment, I think then really perhaps if I can give him this time to look at to the end of the season, for him to look at someone and that be the man that through thick and thin is going to lead Celtic on in the next couple of years, that's fine. And I think it was just essentially that. You know, I was, regardless of the results here, you're still a bit surprised. You don't know what, and I don't speak to Dermot that often in that sense. But if that's what he wanted to do, and that's what the board wanted to do, then I was happy enough to go with it.
Just to be clear, Martin, was there another conversation with Dermot around?
Yeah, it didn't last that long, you know, but neither did the first conversation. He put the ultimatum to me pretty quickly. But I suppose, having had, what was it, 5 or 6 weeks then, and having gotten to know the players, or most of the players, then it was probably in that sense a little bit easier for me to say yes, only because I kind of got to know them a bit. You know, I was coming into something completely different the time before, not really knowing some of the players, and with them not really knowing me or anything like that. So it was again, it was fine, and I suppose deep down I wanted to do it.
It was just an instant decision for you, Martin. Was it just your thought?
Do you know, see the insistence on training was fine, and then what he says they're fine. I think he's wanting to keep a lid on things. I don't think he wants anyone getting carried away. Like, oh, Martin O'Neill's back, and we're going to beat Dundee United 8-0 at the weekend. You know, I think he's seen how it went for Nancy not losing games. He's probably, I think it was his fear first time was that he came in and would make he wouldn't deliver. Essentially, it was his main concern. He joked about it, mentioned it very often in the early weeks. And, you know, thinking back on it, you guys who've been on the channel for a while will remember, but there was this moment, was it Kilmarnock at home? I think it was Kilmarnock at home before the international break. He did the press conference in a suit. He felt more like manager Martin O'Neill rather than former manager Martin O'Neill, as it were. And he kind of clicked into mode in a sense. And I think he's in mode. It feels like Martin O'Neill manager has been completely reawakened. And now that when he's back in at this time, he's very clever, I think, here to repeat the word fine a few times. He's keeping things modest. He's keeping things quite low key. And yeah, I don't think he wants the pageantry, the furore of the whole, the emotion of the whole emotion getting completely turned into optimism and expectation, in case that is just, too big of a burden for the squad to carry with his name on it.
You thought, right, okay, the club's needing me in a time of need. I need to go back.
If you put it like that, there, essentially, that's probably true.
Is it definitely just until the end of the season, Martin? Is that the way you're looking at it, or will you review it at the end of the season, see how you do, see how you feel, or how you approach it?
I wonder whether I would have the capacity to go and carry on. And also, I'm 112 next birthday, so I think time is kind of running out for me. But I'd be, I'd like to try and do well in it. And I think that, who knows what the board might think, but I would not be, and I'm serious about this, I wouldn't be thinking any longer than the end of the season for me, regardless of what happens.
No, in terms of this season then, the conversation you had with Dermot, did you talk about targets? What are you coming in to do?
No, he didn't. No, just, well, what am I coming to do? I suppose, like most managers, come in to try and win some football games, but he didn't say about winning a league. We didn't have a long conversation, by the way. It didn't last that long. My conversations with Dermot don't last that long. But I would have assumed that he would, it is Celtic, and you have to fight back after adversity. So
yeah,
I would have assumed that you would want to try and close the gap. Rangers have closed right up alongside us. Maybe we could go ahead tonight. And so we've got a battle in our hands.
The team obviously in a worse league position than when you left, lost that cup final, but do you still feel that you can go on and win the league and have success in the Scottish Cup and still progress in Europe?
Oh, right. That's
maybe just focus on the league.
An enormous task. Well, I think that I think it's going to be difficult, and I think, make no bones about it, there's less games to play now than before, and Rangers must have gained a psychological advantage there, and that's over us in that. But we still have to catch Hearts, and the way that Motherwell played the other evening against Celtic, they might well be the best footballing side in the league.
High praise from Martin. And there's a lot of rumour going around that Celtic's top candidates for the summer is Askew, and I don't know if the other one was McKenna or if it was Askew and somebody else like that. And yeah, they're going to basically review it in the summer. I think if Askew can get over the line with Motherwell and really have like a completely successful season from start to finish and doesn't show these signs of decline as the season goes on, it will strengthen his case. I know a lot of you guys were Askew, fans or whatever. I don't mind it in a principle, but my concern is like Champions League and such, and obviously guys can grow and learn, but a lot of what you need, we were chatting about this yesterday, what it is to be a Celtic manager or who should be a candidate, and you want elite level experience. Even though Strachan and O'Neill to a lesser extent, because O'Neill won stuff with Leicester, right? But even when Strachan comes in, he's got the Premier League expectations and standards that comes to the party, and Rodgers also brings that, of course, but Rodgers reached much higher on the table, and it's just way more obvious, it's way more stated, or felt. And I don't know, Neil Lennon's a bit different. I think him being a Martin O'Neill kind of disciple, as it were, and being a golden generation player, he kind of brings in a kind of steal that kind of the ethos of the club. He's got enough medals around his neck from being a player that kind of maybe bridges a bit of that gap where he had some success and he had credibility for a time to be Celtic manager. Yeah, interesting that Martin O'Neill goes on to praise him here. Quite, let's say, could be the best footballing team in the league, which is very high praise from the man.
Martin, was it difficult you watching on from the sidelines when the team was going through a poor run under Wilfred, given the way you'd taken them?
Yeah, it was disappointing. But some of the matches that they played in had that, for instance, had that second goal have gone in. I know it's ifs, buts, and maybes, and keep those out of the equation, and eventually the results are what it's all about. But there were moments in matches there, if they'd been able to score that second goal, you never know that things could have been different. You just need a little bit of luck, and somewhere along the way. And I look back at my time. I know it's a fairly lengthy time ago, but when I was at Leicester, couldn't win a game to save my life, and crowd, very restive indeed. That's putting it mildly. And I got a bit of luck away from Filbert Street, where we won 2 games in about 3 or 4 days, and eased the pressure. And I'd just come into the football job, or into the football club as well. So, and I understand these things. So got a bit of luck. We finally got promotion. It was great, and things went really brilliantly for me after that there. But it was touch and go.
Martin, Paul Tisdale's also left the club. How does the January transfer window work now? What role do you?
This is what we're here for. Gordon Duncan doing God's work. How much money have you got, Martin?
You have within that? Is it going to be business as usual? Because I'm sure we spoke before about this team needing players in this window.
We definitely need to supplement the squad. Absolutely, yes. No question about that. And I think that Sean, for instance, has been working in the background in certain things. I think you would get to know some players. It's up to me as quickly as possible, because eventually, I would like to be sitting here in front of you and saying, listen, all these players are my choice. So, and that's what I really like to do. So I don't have a great deal of time.
Oh, I love that, man. I love that. On the channel earlier this season, when we were at the beginning of this storm, I was quite open that I would be very happy for Brendan to get a new contract, because it would have signified a bit of the power struggle maybe going in his favour, and Brendan getting a bit more what he wants, which was essentially better players, which, no one can really argue that we need. And Martin O'Neill wanting to say, no, this is a good one. I bought this guy. I signed this one off. Love it. Yeah, here we go, man.
Was before at a football club, when I was at Celtic before, I would be able to run the rule over players that I knew, players that I maybe didn't know, like Jos Vulgaren, for instance, way back years ago. But you take the chance on somebody who's an international player. So here, I will rely on Sean and Mark and Steve, their opinion on players, but eventually it'll be down to me as much as anything else. And so,
yes, Martin. Come on. Do you think a bit of a Premier League raid is possible now? That is not to be ruled out, because Martin O'Neill, for the last couple of years, his life in the media has been very Premier League focused, very Premier League centric. A lot of Champions League stuff, and obviously Celtic, he's been involved in as well. But yeah, if he sees a list of like targets, availables, and there is recognition and admiration for players that are in the Premier League, I don't think he would hesitate, or having already, like you just said there, some players he already knew about, he could run the rule over, and he's quite happy to do it with unknowns. And just Vulgaren, I thought, was like, that's a lovely example, isn't it? Because again, different time, different era, but nobody knew who Just Vulgaren was when we signed him. And Big Juice, again, a kind of forgotten hero of the generation, but Big Juice was a good one.
So, or if they don't do well, I'll blame Sean. And and if they do brilliantly, I shall take all the credit.
Are you aware of anything imminent, any rules that...
See, this is why you need fan media in there. Nobody laughed at his joke. Poor Martin.
were in motion before you came in?
You do know that the young lad has joined us from Bournemouth for a start, and obviously didn't know anything about that, and so that's really up to him now to gather a bit of momentum himself. Hasn't played very much football, but from here on in, whatever we're doing, it's just a matter of, well, again, I'll reiterate, we need the players in and as quickly as possible.
Martin, you mentioned there about it's going to be a battle.
It's a great point somebody brought up here, Kev, right? I've kind of spoke on this before, but you brought it up at a great time. The Roy Hodgson example, I think, is a great one, right? Because Roy Hodgson, very similar to Martin O'Neill, came back into Crystal Palace after Patrick Vieira, after Frank de Boer, when the whole thing was, they were spiralling towards relegation. And he came in, stabilised the club, very similarly to Martin O'Neill. They gave him a contract. But the problem with that became, and it would happen to us as well, like Martin he's not got a career to forge. He's not got, the really much unfinished business and building a team, transfer players you're going to bring in. There's just such a long, not even long term, a mid-term uncertainty around everything. And even and because of that, with Crystal Palace in particular, transfers really slowed down. Everything was focused on keeping Olise and Eze, and I think they had the third guy in the mix at the time. I forget who it might have been now. And trying to get little guys from the Championship to supplement and hang on to stars, and they found it quite hard to actually develop the team. They had some really good players in, as you know, and eventually it just kind of fizzled out. He didn't do bad, but they was never taking the team forward anymore. And then when they replaced him with Ollie Glasner, as they say, the rest is history. And I think that's kind of the position. Like Roy Hodgson did well for Palace, Martin O'Neill will do well for Celtic, but there is that sweet spot with these guys that are in the twilight, the Indian summer of the career, or whatever the term for it is it's hard to have the club continuing moving forward with that being the only kind of outlook on the managerial situation. If it's clearly going to be handed off in some regard to, like, if let's imagine Martin O'Neill stays in our season, like your kind of suggestion here, and he gets a further 1-year contract, and there's a strong inclination. Would it even need to come to the fans and the public? It doesn't necessarily need to, right? But see, even with transfers and contract negotiations, if you're quite transparent and saying, listen, this whole operation will still run as it does when Martin leaves because of Maloney, Fotheringham and McManus, and the plan is already to promote one or to bring in a head coach to kind of oversee everything, like an Askew or a McKenna or somebody like that, and such the standards, formation, tactics, philosophy, whatever, will remain consistent. So people you bring in don't feel that, okay, well, you've got Martin for 1 more year, and then what if you go and bring in a different guy who doesn't like me? So players want to know that their whole world isn't going to get turned upside down, like a lot of the whole teams has this year, about 3 or 4 times. And that's something that these older managers in situ, I think, not directly or overtly, but it does add that element into it of who am I signing for and how long they got, it's just that kind of element of it. So it's a delicately managed situation, I think.
In the league, do you know, with Rangers drawing level with Celtic, Hearts got a 6-point lead, do you now genuinely see it as a 3-way fight for the title?
I naturally I do. I don't know what sort of
he has in this press conference, but it kind of smacks, again, I think it smacks of 2 things. It smacks of deja vu from when he first came in. And I think he really talked himself out of the situation the first time around. I thought he might have, maybe not took that approach this time, because he did seem to have a bit of regret, a bit of remorse when he was back on the radio thereafter. And the second thing kind of ties into the fine comments, where it's like, I think he just wants to keep things on under the lid, just wants to keep things like on the here and now. Let's just focus on tomorrow. Let's just get some players in this window. Let's win the next game and win the next game after that, win the next game after that. I think that's the tact here, personally. I had heard some rumours and suggestions that he was, when he was originally offered till the end of the season, he actually wanted 18 months, or in some capacity, he had asked for an 18-month contract, maybe even on the first interim basis. I forget the rumour, how it was worded, but don't get it twisted. Manager Martin O'Neill's back, and I think if we get to the end of the season and he thinks, I really like this squad, we've won the league, we're looking at the Champions League, he's had this last hurrah to win a medal, win the league. If he thinks, I'll get a crack at the Champions League next year, I could see him phoning up Desmond and saying, if you've not got your man, I'm here. Or if you're not certain, if you're not 100%, if you're only 99, stay with me, that kind of jab.
What sort of, what shall I say, the strength of the squad of, for instance, Motherwell or Hibs or something, as I really don't know that there.
This question is it a 3-way title race?
Certainly, I watched the game against Motherwell and they were brilliant against us, really brilliant in the game. So I don't know that, but Rangers obviously big enemies, and Hearts have got they've had momentum all season. They've been able to win some big games. So it is a difficult task for us, and
it was one of my first thoughts, Kev, when we did the stream yesterday. We looked at the Europa League and everything around that, and I didn't want to go to where you've went. But could Martin get his 12 games in the Europa League? We'll have 8 by the time the group stage is finished. So we get 10 if we qualify, but then getting past that round. Could Martin, that's all I'm prepared to put on my scope, is 12 matches in Europa League. I think he could do that, what I said. But further than that, let's just, Martin wants to keep a lid on it, Kev. Let's keep a lid on it.
But it's one that we've got 18 games still left, so.
In terms of numbers coming in, Martin, sorry, do you expect it to be a busy one?
I would be hoping to it, if
What was that? One more time. That was music.
Momentum all season, they've been able to win some big games. So it is a difficult task for us, and but it's one that we've got 18 games still left, so.
In terms of numbers coming in, Martin, sorry, do you expect it to be a busy one?
I would be hoping to it, if.
Martin wants it to be busy. Oh, come on, man. Come on.
But if the board were to listen to me, then we would have about 56 players, So I will try and narrow it. We definitely know. I think you'd be aware, but of what positions that we need to strengthen in, and that's what we're going to try and do. But I don't. It's a difficult window, and in terms of buying players, things that you see, that'll be difficult. But we do need to supplement the squad.
Obviously, Dyson was quite close to leaving in the summer.
This is brilliant. This went viral, I think, today.
Do you anticipate him still being here?
That's a good point. No, I've held this. I just came in last night. I don't know what has happened since, but and I don't know. So there's little point in me saying, "Oh, he's really happy. He wants to stay here," and then tomorrow morning he's gone or something. I don't know. I'll have a word or find out what he's thinking, even if it's through his agent or whatever the case may be. But I think there was a bit of disappointment with him because the move didn't go through. I think it was to Wolfsburg, was it? I think last in August time. Am I telling you something that you didn't know?
Yeah.
Am I?
Yeah.
Possibly. Okay. That never happened. That never happened. It wasn't Wolfsburg at all. No, absolutely. I think it was Augsburg. Was it? It was something else. No. Okay.
So, as we've kind of heard from the rumour mill, Dyson said, I'm staying for the rest of the season. And I said it's probably quite self-serving. We have a look at the Bundesliga table there now. Wolfsburg. Not exactly safe from relegation. Not exactly doing too great. 23 goals scored in 15 games. And even if Martin O'Neill was wrong, and it was Augsburg, look where they are. One position below. 17 goals scored in 15 matches. Again, not exactly smooth sailing. So if these are the clubs that Dyson and his agent had lined up, I can see why he wants to stay here even more now, don't you?
Cut that. Oh. Okay, I think it was a bit of disappointment at the time, but he's got going again. If you're asking me, I'd love him to stay. It'd be actually really important for him to stay if that's the case. But I genuinely don't know what has happened. By our next press conference, I'll be able to tell you.
Martin, there's an argument that perhaps the results didn't come under Wilfred because he tried to implement change too soon and the players didn't seem comfortable with it. For you, is it a point of getting back to basics in terms of a formation, a formula that you think that works?
Well, I hope I didn't try and change too many things that Brendan had in place. There's a couple of things that as all managers will have a way of playing or what they think is the best way that will suit the squad there. So I don't think that we try to change too many things. And also I'm pretty aware that at the time, it takes time for players to adjust. If it is a change of formation or whatever the case may be. But I think that there were times during the course, for instance, during our what was it, the number of games I had, that we did, in terms of moments of matches, we actually did change formation. And so as long
You know, it's a great point he makes here, and Huddle Breakdown covered it in a bit more detail. Very great. If you have not listened to Huddle Breakdown this week, I highly recommend it because they have a good conversation around like Nancy wasn't the only issue. You know, it was a real medley of problems that all kind of bounced off each other, and some of the blame game has got a bit excessive. It's got a bit extreme in terms of some of the stuff. I'm not going to get into all of that, but I think Martin's quite right to make this point.
As long as it doesn't, as long as the players that one are happy with it and two understand it, that absolutely fine. So I don't expect to make too many changes. Probably want to maybe go back to what I thought maybe worked for us at the time, if indeed it didn't work before. But again, it's, you know, it is players. We can get bogged down with the systems and stuff like this here, but you know, players can make things work, you know. So, well, let's, whatever system we do decide to go, just let's not have any excuses. Let's go and try and win.
Given the success you've had here, Martin, your first spell, and also when you came back recently, how much is this going to give the squad, the players, the club a boost by you returning?
I've got to tell you that I'm very anxious about it. I'm as I've always been, but I'm, you know, I'm anxious, and maybe in a sort of excited way. But I'm anxious. But that's me. I've got dreadful insecurity problems. So
You said the last time it was the fear of failure that you were worried about. Is that
same thing?
same thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
Yeah, I'd like to try and
Only
win if
natural.
we can. So, and you know, you've got 18 games, or hopefully 18 games. Yeah, so I would try and win.
Martin, what's your message to the fans? Obviously, before you left, there was the AGM, a lot of protests. Things have possibly got worse since then. What would be your message to the fans?
Well, after that AGM, and I know I joked with you and said I won't be back for the next AGM. That will be an absolute certainty. Anyway. But I'm never sure that messages from me to the fans means a great deal. It doesn't really.
It depends what it is, Martin, because you're on the inside, and you know, like, it depends. I get what he's saying. Like, what can he really say? He's not a director. He's not the CEO. Him saying something, you know, it's not as if people are beholden to it. And Martin said we're going to change, so everything changes. You know, so like, I get what he's saying here, but it depends what it is, Martin. I think you know that.
I would want to win naturally. Very selfishly, I'd like to win for me, and would like to win for the players, and obviously I'd like to win for the football club, and the football club is the fans. You know?
Exactly.
Just one on
Love that, Martin. And Pork Chop Express. Sorry, timing for me today is not my own. When I was scheduling everything, I was like, oh yeah, Axom's on at Twitter. I really scheduled it, and I was like, oh crap, just kind of lost myself. But my time's not my own today. I kind of need to do everything as I do it. So that's the only scheduling reason.
transfers again. You said Sean's doing some work in the background. So just to be clear, will it be a case of Sean and the team identifying players and then presenting them to you?
I think there's a part of that. Yes. Yeah. I may have to rely on Sean's judgment and Fozzie's judgment on certain things. Yeah, I might have to, and that'll be a problem. But no, I will. That might be the case, but I will certainly have a look at the players before they come in some capacity, but not just shots of them in like proper matches, even if you go through the 90 games. But that's my job, so I have to try and do that, but more quickly than before.
Are you confident, given that you're coming in at capacity till the end of the season, that you'll get the support when it comes to the expenditure on players in this window, which is notoriously difficult?
Well, strangely enough, you know, I've never. Well, I'm a manager now, and of course, you if you could sign all the players.
Neither did I, Willie Larson. Neither did I. I was close too. I was,
that you'd want to have, it would be great, and it doesn't work like that. But I generally work within the parameters of the club. But I'd be hoping that, you know, now we're in a bit of difficulty. We know we have to fight back, and I think that as I said to you, I'm saying to you, and I would say the same to the board, that I think we're all aware, and so are the fans, that the squad needs strengthening if we can do. Now, we might bring in some players that may not be that much better if that's the case, but that's up to us. But the nice thing about it, if we can get a few people in, I think the squad will benefit from it. I think that's the main thing. And if you,
we can all see that. We can all see that there's a bit of a squad there. It's just missing the finishing touches. It's been underserved.
If you sign an extra, let's say an extra midfield player or something, it's nice to have a bit of competition for places if that's the case. But it's no excuse, but we've had the injuries, the long-term injuries to the players. And I was quickly speaking to the medical staff, I don't see an imminent return for any of the long-term boys now for a while. Young Johnson thinks he might be back maybe in March time, which is good news if that's the case. But March is a long time for me. So I don't have that time.
I'm guessing Jota's in that band. Is Iheanacho and Osmond in that band? Interesting. The long-term boys, none are imminent. AJ is the first one mentioned as being like, could be back in the scene. So is that Osmond, Iheanacho, Vickers and Jota he's talking about? Obviously, AJ specified a bit further. If that's the case, yeah, you have to think of them all then as an absolute write-off for the season. Essentially.
How did your family react when you said you were coming back again?
Exactly.
Mate, wait, what? But mate, we've got by all the birthday card nonsense. What did your family say, Martin? No, what about Jota? Who is those long-term players? Is that Callum Osmond? Oh, I wasn't going to. I thought most of we had a wee bit of the fluffy stuff at the beginning. I thought most of the press conference questions in this one weren't that bad or that like redundant. Most of them were quite okay. Martin's answers were better than the questions in some cases. But this, man, come on. He just gave you a wee nugget of, I've just spoke to the medical team. Here's an AJ update. Is that Jota too? Where is Vickers? What about Osmond and Iheanacho? Osmond and Iheanacho, man, we need strikers, and it's like that's a big variable. Let's see if he knows, like, Osmond. I don't think he would. Is Osmond long term? I don't know. Who is long term? What does that mean?
Exactly the same. Honestly, my two daughters really, really delighted. Go for it, Dad. And
I'm so great we're going to find out about this.
You'll mess it up, So, but she said that the last time, and she's claiming she didn't, but she did. So it's the same thing. But I think there's a real genuine excitement about this. So we'll go for it.
Did you have any conversations with Wilfred either during his tenure?
Man, it's Toboggan, MD. You should have. Things might have changed. You should know about that. He's got a wee bit of off the streets word from the horse's mouth here on this one. I don't think Osmond was originally categorized as a long-term out, but it was like, oh, he's out for a bit. So that could still be true. That again, why did nobody follow up? He said, I just spoke to the medical team to get on top of everything. You know what I mean? Yeah, Sriracha as well. Actually, he was going around on crutches at the time. No, he wasn't running away from you, was he?
When he left.
I had 15 or 20 minutes with him on the day after.
What's this,
the same, exactly the same. Honestly, my two daughters really, really delighted. Go for it. And she's claiming she didn't, but she did. So it's the same thing. But I think there's a real genuine excitement about this. So we'll go for it.
Did you have any conversations with Wilfred either during his tenure or when he left?
I had 15 or 20 minutes with him on the day after the Dundee game, so my Thursday up here, and it was fine. And I thought he was really really fine man, and we might. I was not giving him advice. I was giving my opinion if he was asking for it, and the conversation was fine, and it wasn't. It was not Wolford wanting to cut it short at all. In fact, if anything, it's probably me in that aspect. So no, it was really fine. He's good.
Who's that? Sorry, Celt 6788 Osmond. Feel free to expand on that, mate. Thanks for the insight.
Own ideas, and I think that obviously he'd been naturally disappointed, but I think he will come again and be a really good coach and manager, whatever you call it these days. But yeah, my conversation was not that long, but yeah, I just obviously wish him all the best at the time, and still do. So I have not spoken to him since, but I haven't fallen out with him.
The players, Martin, really had a connection with you when you came back for that short spell, and you'll be hoping that just continues for this next one for however long it is.
Yeah.
What? That's not even a question, was it? It's like kind of like a statement. Come on, dude.
We know it's winning. It's winning. And that connection is fine when you're winning. And it's when you're not winning football matches.
Big Rob talking with authority here. No player currently out will be back in a matchday squad before mid-April. Talking with authority, Big Rob.
That becomes a problem. It's the same. It's the same in any dressing room at all. So the players are the most important people because they do the winning of football matches, showing a little bit of guidance if that's the case or whatever. Or, you know, I think it's, you know, well, it's strange enough in many aspects. My approach now to the players is a different approach I would have had when I started out in management. You know, I would have been. I'm still reasonably aggressive. You know, I'd be far more aggressive in.
That's it, Martin. Grab him by the scruff of the neck. What are you doing?
Earlier days, you know. So maybe there was less to be aggressive.
It's right at the end. I was fast forward, Raja, but we're just at the end.
But you know, but I'm guided by them. They have to do the winning, you know. So it's up to them, and obviously, up to me as the manager.
Yeah, I thought that'd be the wee outro screen. Nice to hear from the man. Nice to hear from the man. He's just an honest guy, here, Martin, for sure. And going the likely return dates, if we hang in there, we have some squad post-split. Yeah, the split's going to be mega. And if we have a wee quick flick back at the squad, because I do think that's quite interesting. Right, so Osmond, I think we'll just leave him kind of on picture for a minute. But yeah, I think all these other lads, home, who knows, really, you know, but AJ, March, Iheanacho, no mention of, Jota and Vickers. This feels like this is certainly the long-term guys. And I'm not sure if Sriracha, Osmond, Iheanacho, some of you guys mentioned Sriracha surgery. If that's the case, then yeah, he's probably out for ages. And if that is the case, then we did mention this yet. I said no more fullbacks, please. But if Sriracha is out, if he is crocked, then we are probably looking at getting a wee bit of double-sided utility out of some of the fullbacks here. I don't want to see Scales at left back again. I don't want to sign in another fullback, to be honest with you. Unless it's Greg Taylor. I would take Greg Taylor back on loan to the end of the season in an absolute minute. No problem at all. And sign the Motherwell CM. Now, I think, see, when it comes to midfield, Martin wants another midfielder in there, he says, for competition. I don't think he explicitly said midfield, but it kind of felt that was the area of the pitch he was discussing. I don't know why my mind is telling me that. But Elliot Watt coming into this picture would do us a lot of favours. Did that ball move? Oh, it does. Look at the ball rolling. Oh, that's so cool. Is that because it's just like... Oh, no, it just rolls around now anyway. I thought it was maybe because it was at a player's feet and it was because they're dribbling it. That's brilliant. Boys and their toys, eh? Because like it looks like Hatate and McGregor were double pivot in the training session. We've seen Engels and McGregor be very successful under Martin O'Neill. And that feels like the three main guys. Bernardo's just kind of picking up the pieces outside of that. And to bring in an Elliot Watt, I kind of think I need somebody to leave this midfield. I think wages-wise, the club probably thinks the same thing. But even just space in the squad, I don't think you're going to get, what's he going to do? Sit on the bench? Because he's not going to kick Hatate out the team under Martin O'Neill. Negren feels like he's, if it isn't Negren, it'll be Hatate. Maybe that changes and opens things up a little bit. If these two guys just rotate with one another, and then we need a real third man to carry the weight, hold the fort with McGregor and Engels, like maybe coming off the bench or starting for one of them on a kind of 3-man rotation of some sorts. Going by his football leanings. Oh, really? Well, that's a shame. Jovan Milosevic is a name as well. Bernardo, well, I forgot how to dribble when he gets a game. Yeah, I'm sure he will. Also here in the 2 Tisdale signings currently planned are on hold until Martin O'Neill reviews the signings. Lovely. Any good young guys coming through this season, Quinny? Now, I always talk about this when we do the scouting stuff, and I'm going to get into exactly who I would like to talk about and exactly who I want us to sign, like actual names. Ones that are realistic as well, and one that's maybe a bit of a stretch, but also realistic. Now, I think when we look at this stuff, the thing that's that's important to remember, right, is football players are like Martin's trying to emphasize in the press conference there, they are the athletes, and I think there's lots of good comparisons that you can use to make sense of it in your head. And I do this for myself. I'm just saying it in that kind of outward way with you guys. But I like horses in that example, like thoroughbreds and that kind of stuff, and as well as like Formula One drivers. I think there's just the way those sports work, there's some nice parallels for example purposes. And I think when it comes to football players, it's the exact same as it's probably with the Formula One driver. Like you could take somebody out of any other racing sport, not all of them can make it at Formula One. So if you ID a person who could make it, if just because the guy that's right next to him is kind of similar, if you don't have that same belief that they are the person that they can make it, you shouldn't really be veering away from option one, even if it costs more, because the actual thing that you're trying to get, the production, the product, the end product you're trying to get is winning, is success, is performance. And, you might think you can try and spend less or spend similar on someone else and still get the same outcome. But in sport and in these high intensity elite type situations, it's just not the way it works, really. So I always try my best to bring new names into the equation, but I think most of the names we'll chat about just now are names that have featured on the channel previously, maybe not anything recently for some of them, but they're all ones that have featured at some point. Now, we've spoken a lot on the channel about Bowie and Mulligan. I think the Julian Araujo transfer shuts down Mulligan in January. Mulligan could happen in the summer if he's not left Hibs for the English Championship, or maybe even into one of the European leagues, maybe like Italy or something like that. So I just don't see that happening now anymore. Mulligan can play midfield, and I wouldn't underestimate him in that role for us, even right wing to some extent, because he's an athlete. Like, he is a good football player as well, but he really he shows up well on the pitch. He passes eye tests. I've never heard anyone say a bad thing about Mulligan, whether that be Scottish media covering Hibs or Celtic fans in here talking about transfers. No one's really got a bad word to say about him, and that's from being at Dundee and now at Hibs. So I think that would be a good transfer. With him just signing for Hibs, you're probably, to get him in January, paying over the odds. They're having a good season, key player for them. I just don't see it. With Bowie, like, I think if we sign Kieran Bowie, could Kieran Bowie do similar than what Adamida did on loan from Norwich? I believe he could. Beyond that, you're still looking at getting another striker one, because all Bowie kind of really does is replace O. And my kind of reckoning on the depth in the squad and the positions that we have and the level we're trying to push and get to, like, he's good. He's clearly, like, if you were going to get someone in the league, he's one of the top candidates. And I think maybe the overrated element is, and again, I say this with all due respect, Celtic fans watch more Scottish football than any other league. So just the opinions to have players on and to recommend is probably kind of contained within a field of view. So I kind of mean it in that sense. Same about Alex Gokic, honestly. Like, it just makes me laugh every time I see that. No harm to the guy, but it's just not who we should be going after in some ways. Don't get me wrong, if we signed him, I think he would put his body on the line and do everything for us, like Liam Scales does. Aye, I think he would. Would he be better than Scales? Scales, I hasten to remind you, he's man of the match in Champions Leagues, has been there, seen it, done it. And until Wilfred Nancy came in, had hardly put a foot wrong in his entire Celtic career, despite the pressure and the scrutiny he comes under. So I'm not really in the Gogic camp. Domestically, I've got a whole video going through domestic targets because, again, like there's only so many of them to discuss, and we did that on the channel in the festive January little mini series with reference on the channel. We've 80 million or more in the bank, and we are rummaging in the bargain bins. RL now. Yeah, Gogic and exactly, like it's just not conducive, isn't it? You know, it's like Harry Maguire from Man United. It's just like in the back three of Amorim, it just doesn't fit. I'm only ever talking about Scales for what he is. I'm not ever claiming him to be more than he is. He's not the second coming of Van Dijk. He's not winning the Ballon d'Or. But asking for better than him is like expensive, you know. And again, we'll kind of get to that because right. So let's get kind of on a base here, right? RL, we've got 80 million or more in the bank. Over the last 3 years, right? UEFA financial regulations is on a 3-year window of revenue, wages to revenue ratio, as well as transfer spend not being excessive to income and that sort of stuff. Okay. Over the last 3 transfer windows, we have a net balance of 50 million quid, give or take, right? Roughly. So we have not only the cash in the bank, but we have the financial window available to us to spend transfer fees quite readily. Where we are more restricted is the wage budget. Can I save this for a second? Just save that as Mon 1.1. If we look at the depth one again, what was that? Let's just do 4 then 3. There we go. So if we look at the depth here that we've got for the squad, I thought this would have brought up the Palmas and everything. I'll need to get that slide ready for next time. But we actually have a huge wage commitment. The club have put it on record themselves a few times to try and like justify their no, we are spending money, you know, angle that they try and live on. So I don't doubt wages wise we are maybe right on the razor's edge of, you know, FFP regulations and all the rest of it. But see, with this is the thing to think about, right? Whatever the rules are fine, right? What is the penalty for flogging the rules? It's a fine. You know, it's not going to be exclusion from the Champions League. It's not going to be anything material. You know, if we are over by like £1 million for one window, for one like accounting period, UEFA fine us. At this point, the board, the club have the can to carry. You know, this is the rainy day fund. They have to get themselves out of this hole. And if they fall foul of regulations for like a seat for 1 year in the window or something like that, because we've not sold a big player this year, we've not qualified for the Champions League this year, it's almost inevitable that this season, when it really becomes in our 3-year window, is going to be a black hole, is going to be a big red mark that is going to FFP-wise restrict us, especially if it's allowed to snowball. If we don't win the league, if we don't qualify for the Champions League, if we don't sell players for money and get back on the horse with where we've been at, then, you know, we will slip and slide. The coefficient could also become a lot harder. We've spoken about that in turn a little bit yesterday as well. So there is just no excuse for spending money or not spending money in this window, okay? So I just want to kind of reiterate that. We spent a bit more detail in a previous video going through it. If you want more detail, feel free to skim back through the channel and see we kind of crack that open a lot more in the transfer segment. We need defenders who can control the ball, pass accurately. I agree. Dyson has had a car crash of a season so far. It's kind of been all over the place, hasn't it? Pedigree without the platform, that's a marker for me. The education and stable individuals has grown up. And then the positional, personality, physical, technical attributes. Strange Love the Doctor dropping some alpha on us. Love a bit of that. Now, like I say, some of these names will be recurring. But see, when we look at the defence, we can all agree, especially under the Martin O'Neill depth of a back four, no JSP in the building anymore. We are in desperate need of another defender, because Dane Murray is fine. We want Dane Murray. We want homegrown players to be in the depth chart. We want him to be third or fourth centre back in the mix. That's where our youth players should, you know, they should be able to live in that zone when we call them into first team action. Same as Donovan and a few other guys have done under the over the years with varying levels of success. So Murray is fine in my book to be in here, but we need somebody that can fill that void that Vickers is going to be leaving for us. We need another centre back that can push these two guys for places and also cover us in case one of them is injured, suspended, or really goes bad. So defender is the very first thing I think we need to go. Now, the longer and the more I think about this, like, I'm done with taking chances on Lager BLKs and the Rockies. This guy isn't really, it's not wildly dissimilar to those players. So I don't want to say that it's a complete departure from the transfer strategy we've had before, but it's much more of a return to the successful element of our transfer strategy in terms of the player's pedigree and also experience. Now, this is one thing I really, 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 really want to highlight at this point, right? The Celtic team is in dire need of experienced players coming in. It's also in dire need of players that can lift the level, that can set the pace, right? Now, we have pace setters in the squad already, guys like McGregor and Tierney and maybe some of the higher level players that will set the tempo and set the pace. But the level that we are like setting with those players is like our in-house, our kind of, you know, what's been set there over time and bum, 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 bum. And it always helps any football team. You can pick any of them out there that you care to. Whenever a team is able to bring in a player from a higher level into your environment and then just by default kind of lift the level, lift the results. There is absolutely nothing that can substitute experience. And the problem you can get when it comes into football statistics, recruitment, and all the rest of it is experience can be seen as age. And yes, age guarantees a degree of experience. What the value of the experience is and how much of it there is obviously a discussion and something you need to look at. But and by the way, Bosan Lawal is doing very well in the championship when he's fit, but I think he's pretty crocked most of the time. Now, yeah, I'm kind of with you, Johnny boy, there. That like it does look if Sarachi is. We did have this one saved, didn't we? What number was it? 5. Yeah, it does go a bit thinner. But again, I think you can get Donovan to again. What we're talking about here, shutting games out at the end. If we did get our centre back in, like I wouldn't mind. Again, if we're throwing Araujo right off the leash, I wouldn't mind Scales at left back if it was like needs must. Because again, you can just let Araujo off the leash, and then we're playing a back 3 again. Yeah, scary. But you know, I think we would probably go on with that one a bit more, be a bit more balanced and a bit more effective, wouldn't it? If you tackle hard, you're bound to suffer many injuries. Yeah, that happens. I suppose. Dewike, now that would be a great shout. I just think there's far too much competition for a guy like Danilo Dewike. But the number like this for me is like the only candidate that I think ticks all the boxes, and Celtic like could just go and get. Like it could happen, and I believe wholeheartedly it would work out. A player with aspirations, a player with potential, but also has pedigree, physicality, all the soft stuff we're chatting about there, being good on the ball. And it's Jamie Lawrence, who plays in Tyrol of the Austrian Bundesliga. The German under-21 international is currently 23 years of age, and he has been doing very well in Austria over the last couple of years. And this is all defensive contributions, last man tackles, clearances off the line. He's a big ball playing defender. They actually play a bit of a back 3 here at times, so he's used to playing in that kind of quasi shape. Even if you put him into a back 4, like we just looked at there with Araujo, and even imagine Scales had to play on the left or something, could carry that facility. He's right-footed and all the rest of it, like I said there. But the one thing I really like about this guy is if you go back, like we're talking about 4 seasons at this point, when he was, how old is he now? 22, 23. So this is like when he's 18, 19. He's playing in Bundesliga 2 and the divisions below that, and getting in some good experience and getting in some good performances before going to Tyrol and now being a main player in a really bad team, but really tested defensively. He's got that Bayern Munich Youth Academy pedigree. He's also got that national team experience as well with German youth caps and all the rest of it as well. And currently, he clocks in at over 2 meters tall. He's rated at around the $500,000 mark. His contract is up in the summer. This is just a move that just makes all the sense in the world. Like we could just buy this guy. It shouldn't be expensive, shouldn't be hard. We've done deals in Austria, and some of the players we've got from Austria have actually been quite successful. Nicholas Kuhn being the most recent example. And like, I really just don't see how Celtic don't do this. It's a young player. They have the pedigree. They are clearly available as well, and have the physical attributes, have the big club previous experience like Nicholas Kuhn did as well. I just really don't see. Yeah, we could go and get like Danilo Dewike. I actually also really like the idea of maybe trying to, where we're looking at Wolves, who seem to be relegated. I don't mind getting promising defenders that have went to bigger teams and maybe not quite cracked it, or the team's been really bad and are looking to get an exit. I don't mind some of those ones, Dom, but nah, I'm not looking at Leyton Orient. Well, you say that, Raja, but nobody's really hunting this guy down. You know, before I did my last analysis where I kind of included him in a list, like there's not much around the guy in terms of interest and whatnot. Not to say that there won't be or anything like that, but I just don't like. I can't imagine Celtic contact this guy today, contact the club, and you know we couldn't get a deal done for this quite quickly. You know, I just don't see what the restrictions would be. Because yeah, there might be a Bundesliga club interested in him, maybe a team in the Championship in England, but we're not going to be looking at competition much stiffer than that. And to properly get a guy like this, I don't think it would be unachievable. I don't think it would be difficult. And I think there's just so much that goes in a guy like this' favour. I say the physicality. At the moment, I mentioned the experience. At 23 years of age, he's got 4, you know, again, it's youth international, so whatever. Domestic cups, there's not much there, 6 matches. But clocking into, yeah, including those games, over 120 senior appearances at the age of 23 in that kind of good academy kind of environment. It's not a sure thing, you know, don't get me wrong, but we've had success with guys of a very similar profile. And like Maja is saying here, skill attribution well above global mean. He's probably too good for Celtic is what the statistics tell you. There is no way you look at this guy and don't think that he would play for us. He would be good for us as well. And fair enough. It's just, see for where we're at the now, Goro, like, I want minimal risk. You know, I don't want Tabby, and with the greatest respect, I don't want guys from the lower reaches of English football. And I say lower reaches quite sparingly because I know Orient were in the Prem not that long ago. Yeah, this doesn't need to break the bank. Now, see if you still needed to spend, what did we spend on the Rocky? 3.5, 4? What did we spend on? See if we had to spend that type of money on this guy. I wouldn't blink. I would not hesitate. We've done it before for a prospect defender, so why wouldn't we do it again? And, you know, like number 2, it seems to be the strategy where we want guys like this that are 3-4 million at max. And like, I don't see any other jump out, stand out candidates that are like sitting so pretty like this. Contract out, low value, high potential, high actual meat on the bone, proof in the pudding output, and a very poor team. Now, they might be doing all right this year. We'll check the Austrian League if you like, but this is a guy that, as a defender, he is tested in every game. And these ratings out of 100 really speak volumes, you know, for the amount of contributions. We can pick any one of them out. If we look at this game here against Salzburg, he's rated 57 out of 100. They lost 2-1, so no clean sheet. If we have a look at this, 3 clearances, 2 tackles, 1. On top of that, 3 duels, 1. Didn't lose a duel against Salzburg, an interception, but pass count, 48. Are they at home in this one? They were, but they wouldn't have had possession being against Salzburg. 3 balls got into the box, long balls into the opposition. He's still got a bit of that. So this is what we're seeing Scales and Trusty try to do. Can we find another one of the better teams and a kind of decent looking score alongside it? There's Salzburg recently scored against them in a 3-2 win away from home. Got fouled, conceded goals. That's hampered his score ever so slightly. 12 effective clearances, 2 tackles. He's got the block in there as well. Jules won 11. Jules lost 1. That's the stiffest opponent you're going to get out there. And it's fair enough, Salzburg at the moment aren't quite vintage. 2 interceptions on top of that. Pass count very low. Again, against Salzburg, against the ball. That's not really a Celtic type defender. We're going to have the ball a lot more. So if I can maybe flip this around. And where is Pellets? Because they're like the worst team in the league. Is this Pellets here? Yeah. So 0-0 draw against Pellets. Pass count, 35. Yeah, it's maybe went to one of their defenders in this game. The ball, that is, in terms of possession. He may not have yeah, it's probably went to Taffiner, who is another player that I really highlighted. And again, if we're after a midfielder, I really like this guy as well in the same team. Again, we spoke about him in more detail over the by the way, Dominic Baumgartner isn't a bad shout either. How old is he? 29. Yeah, he's probably more of a guy that would go to Motherwell or Hearts than Celtic, really, at 29 years of age. But a good guy, all the same. He's a bit more on the ball. But yeah, Jamie Lawrence for me is the top defender pick. And if we get anyone else, I will be benchmarking them against a guy like this, because I really don't understand why we couldn't. Again, who's going to be in for this guy? Lower end Serie A, mid-championship, bottom end Bundesliga. That's who we should be out competing for prospects like this. Now, the midfield, I've just mentioned Tafiner there. I still hold him in really high regard, as well as Elliot Watt and everyone else I've covered. I'm not really too sure what happens in midfield. Martin O'Neill's comments in that press conference, though, that he wants it to be very active. He wants lots of bodies coming in. I really wouldn't rule out him just bringing guys in to increase competition level and really put the cat in amongst the pigeons. And maybe we do go out and get some people. But I really do struggle to see where, what number are we looking at here? Oh yeah, we've got the right number on 5, don't we? To think about, yes, McKibben's pitched out here in the wing, but without somebody leaving, I struggle to see us getting a midfielder in this window. I really do. I think there's just bigger fish to fry, bigger problems to solve in the team. So I don't want to spend too much time on it. Now, the number one thing we all know we need is a striker, of course. We need somebody to come in here. Now, a name, yes, that's very true, Rio. Very true. No academy. Well, in terms of striker, Osmond is our cheat. You know, we don't have an academy guy coming through, so we signed somebody else's academy guy to essentially replace Doak, Vata, and who was the other one? Cummings. Because we've not held on to any of them. We've not developed any of them. So we're signing guys from other academies, like Shin probably, and Kenny come into these categories as well to supplement the lack of production. So I think in terms of mindset, we don't have them, but we have those people accounted for elsewhere. But when it comes to striker, like I've mentioned at the tip-off, and I really wanted to highlight that, players are not interchangeable. You know, if there's a guy that really suits or a guy that really looks like they've got it, you're not just going to, let's just go find another one. You know, it doesn't really work like that. It's not always the case, you know. So when it comes to striker, if I was in charge, so I think Jamie Lawrence is a bit of a punt, but I don't think it's that much of a punt. This is maybe a wee bit more punty than Jamie Lawrence. Please feel free to let me know your appetite for this, because I know on headline statistics, this might not be one that really jumps out. But Raja, Strangelove, any of you guys that like digging deep into stats and going the extra mile, you're going to see a lot of proof in the pudding with this guy when you scratch beneath the surface. And it's Sergio Cameo. Now, I can't promise that we can get him to shave the mustache. Somebody needs to tell him he needs to, right? But maybe we can do that when we're negotiating a contract with him. He's 24 years of age. He's a Spain under everything international. And he's been playing for Rayo Vallecano for the last couple of years. Now, he's had an injury or two. It's not anything too significant, like surgery and ACLs or anything like that. But he's had a wee injury or two here or there. And it's kind of disrupted his flow. He's back fit and available this year. With this guy, he was brought in to Rayo Vallecano from Atletico Madrid by Andoni Iraola, who is now the Bournemouth manager. And under the seasons he was there, Sergio Cameo was one of the main strikers there. There is a rotation there, don't get me wrong. But when Iraola was there, he was the main man. And if you see the way Bournemouth play and the way their forwards press, this guy would fit in with our team stylistically. He's also a very good finisher. The problem he's had is playing at Rayo Vallecano. I know they've just qualified for Europe in the Conference League this year. They're generally a team of very low chances. They're generally a team against the ball very often. And until Iraola and then their manager they have now, who was also one of my outside shouts for the Celtic job when Brendan left, they play a bit more attacking. The new guys moved them on a wee bit from the Iraola being a bit more conservative defensively. And he's had some injuries. He's had to rotate a little bit more. And I know his numbers don't jump off the page. 44 goals and 11 assists in 157 games. Some of that's B-team stuff with Atleti. Some of it's La Liga 2 with Mirandes, his highlight season. But this guy at Celtic, for me, would outperform Adam Ida when we signed him in January. It was actually who I wanted instead of Adam Ida, which is why I highlight it's maybe a repeat name. Now, he's played a fair bit. He's always in Spain youth teams. He doesn't always start, features quite regularly. He scored 2 goals in the Olympics. The 2 goals he scored in the Olympics were against France in the final, where Spain won 5-3. And go and check them out. And it's, you know, it's a very good team he's playing in here with the Ferminator, Alex Baena, Sergio Gomez, very good Spain team in here. So coming off the bench for this is no slight or anything like that. And this guy presses. This is a very progressive forward. presses very well, links up with others very well, and really every time I'm not sure how many times he clocks 90 minutes, right? Because he pours everything into the team. He's like a 70, 80-minute player, and that's down to like game management from the managers at Rayo Vallecano since he's been there. And again, it's very similar to what I just said about Jamie Lawrence. He has the pedigree. He has that. He has a bit more top league experience, having played at Rayo. So he's playing against the defenses of Real Madrid, Barcelona, Betis, Sociedad, Valencia's, you name it, all the teams that are in there, as well as breaking into the Spain team. He's about the same height as me. So, like, he's not a giant. He's definitely not a shrimp either. 6 foot or whatever that comes in at. His contract. So this is, come to the summer, he's in his last 12 months. So he's at 18 months at the moment. He's currently valued at 10 million. 10 million was his peak when Rayo signed him. But his value at the moment is 2 million. I just honestly, I don't know what it would cost to get this guy. I don't think it'd be too expensive, but this guy would fit. This guy would fit. This guy would work. And this is one of those ones where it would be, who signed this guy? It just would. I have very little questions about it. La Liga is very physical, very technical, very high demanding, and it's a market I think we really underutilize, because if you're leaving Spain, good players, right? Good players that leave Spain, where do they want to go? They only want to go to England, but some of them don't get in the shop window. They don't have the European platform to maybe excel. So if they don't get swallowed up the league, like they don't go from, this guy's went from the Atleti youth team to Rayo. If someone doesn't take him from Rayo and put him into, I don't know, let's say Valencia or Betis or somebody like that, then where's he going to go from Rayo? Kind of nowhere. So an option like Celtic to players like this is huge, because if he comes to Celtic, and I would say, I would wager, if we signed him in the January window, I think Martin O'Neill said there was like 18 games left or something like that. This guy could score 10 goals and get 5 assists. I could see him having something like 12 to 15 goal contributions. He would fulfill more potential. He would have that stage. He'd have that name recognition. And then for Celtic, or for him, to sell him into England or somewhere else, isn't going to be an issue. So it's something that I think would benefit all involved, and really shouldn't be out of Celtic's budget and constraints and everything else that goes along with that. Like I say, he has been injured a few times, but I went to double check what it was, and I did think they're all innocuous things. He's never had any major injury that's been noted on Transfermarkt here. So I'm a big fan of that. I don't think it would cost too much. And I think part of this would be a little bit of a gamble. And I think if you were to take a bit of a gamble on a striker, like a Cameo, like a guy that is, I just think would work. I just think would work and would fit in fantastically. Coming through Atleti as well, you know what they're trained under there, under Simeone. He's been there now for like 10, 15 years or whatever. If I was to go for a striker in the league, I think Bowie is the only realistic one I think I would look at. I really like Boyle. I think, see if you were just saying buy someone to win as the league, I would buy Martin Boyle personally, because I think he's just got a bit more experience. And like I said earlier, you cannot substitute experience. Now, Jordan Larson, we spoke about that yesterday, and I'm not going to go there yet. I think Jordan Larson, if he was to come to Celtic, it would be a summer move at this point. It's not something we could do in January, unless it was after Copenhagen got eliminated from Champions League. It doesn't feel like that's the way things are going. Yeah, I keep saying Atleti because of all the Spanish stuff I watch. But yeah, if you want to dig into him, trust me, you will not be disappointed. This guy brings absolutely everything. Now, one of you guys mentioned Thomas Bobchek yesterday, and I had a lot of fun looking into this guy. I can't lie. I really like a lot of what this guy offers. The problem I have with looking at guys in the Polish league and these other kind of, let's say, tier 3, tier 4 divisions, is I personally find it hard to scale them and think about, he's showing good strength and pace, but where would that pace and strength that I can see measure against where we want him to go? So take your Celtic told by Jamie Lawrence should sign for us. Well, he just needs to look at every other centre-back that we've had over recent years. Karl Starfelt leaves Celtic and goes to Celta Vigo. Moritz Jens leaves Celtic and plays in France and then Germany in quick succession, has a good career. and the list, obviously Van Dijk is the peak of the list, you know, but you can even look at the likes of Denier comes in here on loan. And then after that, like Denier got a pretty good career, you know, went to Lyon, went to Galatasaray, and went to Saudi and got a bag of money. I think he's fell off the wagon now. He's been injured and stuff, you know. Give him the Dolphin. By the way, if you gave Martin O'Neill Sobolev, Bobchek is like Sobolev. That's what I quite liked about him. He's a big physical, almost Chris Sutton type striker, where he's not just a bulldozer. He has a good touch on him. He has an eye for like a slip pass to like a winger. And I really like this guy. So whoever brought his name to the party, Frimpong's another great example, but more of a fullback. But that's exactly why, you know, Jamie Lawrence would sign for us. Because like I say, who's going to be interested in him? Verona and I don't know, Augsburg and Southampton, you know, or maybe not, you know, but those scope of clubs, we offer everything that they offer. But otherwise, one thing that I think Celtic really undersell or don't do a good enough job of selling is the hero status that you get here. And again, it's something I'm going to tie into once we get further through the video today. But that's something that should be held out to these guys. As you come here, you'll learn to be a winner. And everyone, all the big leagues, you know, or not all the, you know, some stuff like, oh, Celtic's the team to watch for emerging talent. But if you do well here, like all leagues pay attention. You know, if someone excels here and, you know, O'Reilly couldn't, you know, even if you go out the defense, if you go out the position direct comparisons, I don't think it's, yeah, I think if you were just like sign a guy in the league that would score and add what we're missing, you've got zero risk with Martin Boyle. Martin Boyle is the Shankland equivalent, you know, like, because Boyle's got a bit more athleticism, would actually fit our play better. So, like, again, if you were just undoubtedly domestic goals is what we want to purchase, it would be Martin Boyle only. Maybe Simon Murray 3 years ago. I only say that because somebody dropped his name in the chat earlier. And thank you very much. So this came up as well. I am not touching Callum Wilson, right? Callum Wilson has had a horrendous injury record. Now, I know he's back fit and available, but why have West Ham just cancelled his contract? It's a very unusual thing to happen. When was the last time we heard of a club just doing that? Oh, yeah, that's right. It was Sevilla with Iheanacho. And look where that got us. So, like, no harm to him. It could be totally different. Don't want to tar two people with the same brush, but nah, not for me, man. I'm checked out of that. The Lorgie need probably be fun, but I don't think he's really been at it. We need known form to come in as well. The Masmanisi shout is really good as well, by the way. I would take a punt on Origi in general, but again, his injury record is wild. But at level, I really like him. He is available, by the way. Twanzebe, Patrick Pfeiffer. Pfeiffer, I don't know. I would need to check out on him, see who he is. I love the names coming in. Rodrigo Muniz, I don't think that's going to happen. Stevie, you've got great taste. And I would love somebody like you to be in the room at Celtic, like pushing the standards and pushing the, like, that's, you know, I think like that, if we could lift our scope there, we would end up with better players as a result. I just don't think our scope goes that high. Personally, so I think this is a guy that's done well in the Prem and will have decent offers in the likes of Italy and Spain, probably Portugal and these types of places, probably around him. I think he's away to the Money League. Who's that? Sorry, is it the Pfeiffer kid? Love Sriracha, but that, yeah, exactly. I said that when we signed him. We're just signing another one, and hopefully we can make sure we don't get both of them injured at the same time. There was a Pfeiffer. Let me just copy and paste this name. I'm happy to look into new. I love you guys giving me info. By the way, it's a big part of kind of what I do. I'm not a know-it-all or anything, far from it. If I don't see players, again, I've got a big community of people I talk to that are basically amateur football scouts, you know, that know a player as well. So yeah, there's a misspelling there somewhere, buddy. I'm not too sure. Yeah, there it's a Darmstadt, 26. Okay. German Bundesliga 2, I don't mind the level. No idea when contract expiry is. Formerly of Young Boys in Augsburg. German Youth International. one I'll look into in more detail. A new name on me. Again, you know, I think a good further highlight of don't need to spend big to get what we need. Are the data guys at Celtic that bad? Kind of feels like it, doesn't it? I applied for the recruitment team actually, or I applied for the scouting team opposition analysis in the summer. I do plan on sending them a little things shortly, but to be honest with you, there is no news, but there's a lot of rumour going around. Oh, genuinely one of the fastest CBs I've ever watched. I'll dig into this guy then. That sounds very good, Anonymous or Avonymous. So some of the chat was like Martin O'Neill was paused everything, which is probably for the best, isn't it? Dennis? Everything's on hold. Oh, sorry, that's a response. Yeah. Rapid for a CB. Love that, by the way. Reapply. Do you think so? Yeah. Height and pace. Pfeiffer and Lawrence. Get the pair of them. Pair of Germans. Pair of Germans at the back. Why not? Now, like I mentioned already, and I'll reiterate this. I will find it very hard to swallow if we finish the January window still with a net positive. This window in particular, I mentioned the 3-year window, it's about 50 million. This year in particular, we've made 15 million euros on net transfers, and we also received about £5 million from the Jeremy Frimpong to Liverpool transfer. So the club were 20 million to the good as things sit. I don't see there being any reason why we have to buy the league. That's what we have to do. We have to buy the league. We have to buy success at this point. I mentioned earlier the whole thing about success and bringing in someone from like a higher level to lift your level and to excel. Okay. If we go back for a real quick second and have a look at the team, I think we know that, but we don't need any more left wingers, right? But right wing was the problem under Rodgers and was, we just seen in the training footage that McKibben was training at right wing again. Right wing is a real gaping hole in the team. Now, Araujo gives you a bit of something maybe, where if you were going to play McKibben to cut in or Negren to cut in and narrow up here, where you would get genuine overlapping, it could work a bit more with Araujo. It might not be as a gaping of a hole. The boy Tabby, we'll just kick him to the side for now. But otherwise, I think the right wing and kind of striker, as we know, obviously, is massively the gaping hole here, right? We've spoke on strikers to some extent. This guy can also play up front, but I would want Celtic to try and break their transfer record. I don't want us to sign. Martin O'Neill wants a really busy window. I don't want half a dozen new signings. I want like 4, and I want them to be good. I want them to be high end. I want them to be Pfeiffer and Lawrence at the back from the statistics man in the chat. Obermeier is good as well. I'm not too sure on profile and stuff in terms of age, and I'll look into Obermeier. It's a good name to shout out, by the way. Boyson, good to see you in the chat. CBCM, yeah, that's the list. The CM, I think, is bottom of priority, but that is the list. Strange love, we're on the same page. I was going to suggest Jonas Wind. Yeah, I like Jonas Wind. Oh, by the way, Pity Martinez. So I spoke about Pity Martinez a while ago on this channel, like ages ago. His injury record, but is the worst, man. Former South American Player of the Year, went for big money, is a really big player, but couldn't even really get back into the River team. So I just don't think we want that. Marco Richter as well. Boyson's bringing all the great Sonair shouts. Love that. But if you were to say, Quinny, one player, you get to break the transfer record and fix our problems, I'd go and get Jamie Lawrence and do all this other stuff we've just mentioned here. But the talisman, the star player I would go and bring in would be Viktor Siganikov. This is a guy that has been on the scene for a while. He's 28 years of age at the moment. He's just back from a wee bit of an injury. He's kicking ass and taking names at Girona, who are having a really poor season. Viktor Siganikov mainly plays on the right wing, is mainly left-footed, is quite two-footed, is kind of Moravchik-y, takes corners, takes free kicks, can play up front, can play either wing, but is like a winger. Could play number 10, is a winger, can play on the wing. Very similar to what I mentioned about Sergio Cameo. would fit in very well with our team. He's a very progressive, like presser of the ball, plays in between the lines very well. And this is a guy that is needing to get to the big stage. This is a guy that has really good talent and just hasn't had that move happen yet. At this point of his career, like I mentioned, he's 28 years of age. And if we scroll back and have a tail of the tape here, look at this. He's been playing, he's had Champions League experience all the way back is 9 seasons ago with Dynamo Kiev when he was 18, 19, first bursting onto the scene. This was a big wonder kid prospect. And then when everything kicked off in Russia, Ukraine, this would have been when he was like 22, 23, kind of peak transfer years. He kind of stayed in there for a little bit longer before ending up at Girona eventually. If we look at league contributions, nearing 250 appearances, almost 100 goals. And yeah, for Kiev, it's maybe not mad. It's probably quite similar to us, isn't it? If you think about the Ukrainian division before the war, Shakhtar Donetsk, especially Kiev, had obviously fallen off quite a bit since I was a child when Kiev was the team in Ukraine. But again, like this is like a good level for us. We've seen good players, even like Dovbyk and whatever, come out of the Ukrainian division in recent times, but also going to La Liga and an unfancied team. They've had support from Man City. They've had a good squad. They qualified for the Champions League when Saganikov's first season was there. Don't get me wrong, but Girona are not the top 4 once, but otherwise like mid-table, uphill battle for the most part. And the thing with Viktor Saganikov is once we get to the summaries in his last 12 months, he's valued at 15 million. I'd pay 15 million for him. I'd pay 18 million for him. No problem at all right now whatsoever. He's got 63 caps, 13 goals for the Ukraine, a full Ukraine international, makes their squads on every occasion, is a right winger, can play all over the place. Stylistically is exactly what we're after. And this is a guy, like, if you take yourself, the question I had before about Jamie Lawrence, if I take off my Celtic cap and say, why would he come to us or how could we get him, right? He has had no... Man United were close to signing him when Girona went to Champions League, but Man United are a basket case and whatever. The best links he's had recently is Galatasaray. He's 28 years of age. He's not moving to Real Madrid. He's not moving to Barcelona. And Premier League links are all but gone. It's like maybe West Ham's and stuff like that, but they're linked to absolutely everyone. And at this point, this guy, I think you approach this guy and you say, listen, we're going to make you in the top 3 highest earners in the squad. We're going to pay Girona whatever they want. And you build it in so that if he can do very well in the first year, you give him a 3-4 year contract, but you build it in so that if you do very well in 1 year, we'll give you a minimum release clause of very little profit on the transfer from what Celtic have if a team in the top 5 leagues come for you. And then you maybe lift the price for season 2. So let's imagine we buy him for 15 million. You say, listen, in year 1, this is January. So you can even say the summer, expiring next January. If somebody comes in from the top 5 leagues, we will sell you for 4 million profit of what we are paying for you. Season 2, it would be 7 million. And then for there on, it's just an open-ended thing. Because if by that time when he's 30, if nobody's coming in for him, then you probably don't need a release clause to entice him, because he will realize if in 2 seasons, if nobody's coming after me, then it's a different story, isn't it? Entirely, where he's not going to move to the top 5 leagues, and those release clauses wouldn't be valid or vital. Mate, it's number 1, right? It's the market. Number 2, it's quality. Number 3, it's if you buy a guy for 15 million, it's a lot easier to sell him for 25. And I'm maybe kind of lowballing like minimum fees. I would try and pitch into the situation. Maybe there's a bit more nuance and a bit more IRL to take into it, where if we are getting him for 15, the minimum fee would be 25 or something like that. But this shouldn't be, like I said when we signed Engels, we should be signing a player in that price category every summer. And at the time, I'll repeat myself, we should, at that point, fast forward 5 seasons, we should have half a dozen players that we've spent over £10 million on from the Engels transfer window onwards. So at 28, you know what you're getting. You're getting the peak of this guy's career, 28 to 32. There's no could he be good enough about it. It's plug in and play. And it's just how good can he do if you're going to make money on him. But again, a lot of you guys were mentioning Roger Schmidt as a prospective manager. This is a Roger Schmidt type signing. If you're going to be a team like Celtic and bridge that gap, You need someone to come in from a bigger league. You need that guy to come in who is better than everyone who's there. That when he comes into training and starts slashing in corners and free kicks, everyone's like, whoa, this is different, you know? And for me, I'm just super confident in all the I won't talk on a player in this way unless I've seen a lot of them and I really know what they bring and what they offer. And somebody said he'd be on 75k or maybe goal bonuses and stuff like that. You would need to pay this guy money. And again, like I mentioned earlier, if we need to fall foul of financial fair play for a year, then that's the price to pay. Is there a fine that comes along with it? Then so be it, you know. But we are in a hole. We need to buy the league. We need to buy Champions League qualification. And our team is in desperate need of a talisman, is in desperate need of a star man. And from what you guys were saying to me yesterday, like, Quinny, who would you actually build this Celtic team around? I would actually build it around Jota. Dyson, I don't think we're going to see for much longer. Rio, who knows? Negren's here, just here, so fine. But see, if you think about the rest of the front three, we need a centre forward and a right winger. So I think you build the front line to complement what we know Jota brings as a left forward. And I personally think, can I just go in custom players? Forward. You can put whoever you want in here, even Callum Wilson or fucking whoever, right? But I genuinely think if that was your front three at Celtic, Saganikov, Cameo, and Jota, that would get to the levels of Dyson, Kyogo, and Kuhn. Maybe, probably even higher. Probably higher, because I think Dyson's not got technique. Kyogo was very selfish. And Kuhn, Kuhn was Kuhn, you know. So I think you build the team around Jota. Now, that's not the whole team where you reconstruct the midfield and the defence, but it's about the attack, because the attack is what we need to buy now. Dyson, I don't think we can think about as a long-term player, as well as anyone else in the front line. The only long-term frontline player is maybe Yang or Jota. You're not really looking, and maybe Taneke. You're not looking at Taneke and Yang, but in the same way that you would a Jota, and think, let's support him. Let's build a front three that he complements, that he fits into, so that then when he's fit and available, Jota's not quick enough, but Jota presses well. You know, Balakwisha can press well, so can Taneke. And I think it's maybe even just what I think about it in the style. But Jota can dribble. Jota's very final third effective for us. And if he's got people to play with, and I think Jota is quick enough. He's maybe lost a bit with the injury and stuff. Time will tell. Time will tell. But even if Jota doesn't return to his full form or anything like that, this is the sort of front three we want to be building, you know, for me. High intensity, link up, pace, pressing. Jota is a 10. I'd rather Saganikov as a 10, if you wanted to think about this picture. Saganikov floating, supporting a striker with wingers playing off him. Whoever that might be and whoever you might want that to be. But I wouldn't hesitate, would not hesitate to sign Saganikov, make him a top 3 earner, spend the big money on him, bring a talisman in, buy the league Celtic. That's what we need to do at this point. Buy points, buy goals. Need Kuhn type speed. I'm not sure if Saganikov can clock quite as fast as Kuhn, because he was like the fastest player in the Champions League for like a game, wasn't it? Jonas Wind, again, like it's Bundesliga, right? So Jonas Wind leaving Bundesliga to come to us, it would probably be excellent. Lee Gibson, Jonas Wind is a very good player. I've just never really liked him. You know, I've just never really watched him and thought, oh yeah, he's good. It's like even Denmark against Scotland, I wasn't really too impressed. And I've seen him for Wolfsburg, and like, he's good and stuff. I wouldn't be that excited on him. Mickey, your man. Fozzie McManus in the training pitch. Dux, yeah, Dux would be good, wouldn't he? He's kind of at a loose end now. Went to Birmingham and kind of getting the team. Isaac Toure, Emineta, Milosevic. I'll look into some of these names for sure. But these are the names that I would firmly put my name against and say are realistic for Celtic in a lot of ways. You know, Girona with Saganikov is coming into his last year. They'll be wanting a move. And if we offer 15 to 18 million and everyone else is offering 12, then they're only accepting our money, you know? And then you just need to agree terms with the player, and you make it attractive to the player. Like, you can leave quickly if you're very good, you know, like you scratch our back, we'll scratch yours. Come here, be a hero. And, you know, if you're looking to make that bridge, we can help you do that. You can help us come here and be a hero. And if it doesn't quite pan out that way, we've got a great player. Would I take back Kyogo? Resoundingly no. Resoundingly no. Honestly, I was always frustrated with Kyogo. But see, the one thing I'll never forget or forgive is flying away as soon as Young Boys was done. Like, just, I don't know, man. It just really, I thought that was really unsightly. I don't know what the word is, but I just, bad taste in the mouth, you know. Yeah, I'm here. What did Balikwisha actually do? Because I'm hearing a lot about this. I've not actually read into it. But what did he do? Did he miss a sitter? Did he give the ball away a bunch? Yeah, I didn't. So after that, anything I thought about him, it felt like I got confirmation that he is a wee arsehole. I just had the feeling that, I don't know, I just never got the feeling that he was big pals with anyone, that he was integrated into the squad, and was always quite selfish in front of goal. And yes, I know strikers need to be, but it was selfish at quite toxic moments. You know, games are in the balance and stuff, and you can just feel like Dyson would be raging with him the amount of times that he wouldn't square him for a tap in. So, um, I've kind of sorry, I've kind of set this up, so I've justified the transfer and stuff. So if you're just joining us, I am holding the belief here that we cannot have a net spend this year for this discussion, because we're 20 million to the good in this window. We're 50 million to the good over the last 3 windows. We have the ability to spend on transfers. Wages is our main constraint, and I don't care if we fall foul of it for 1 year. I think the club have to carry that can. And, you know, we can still problem solve, maybe sell the Rocky or Palma or Bernardo or whatever. And even, by the way, I meant to say this in the tip-off, but see, looking at Saganikov and Cameo, you can use Palma and Bernardo in this, and guys like that as make weights. You know, Girona and Rayo Vallecano. Palma scored against Rayo in the Conference League. You know, these guys, these are makeshift. These are make weights that could be worthwhile. You know, the Girona team could probably use a guy like Bernardo in midfield. Maybe La Liga would suit him. You know, so I don't think they're unrealistic. Or, you know, the Saganikov thing I accept is uncharacteristically not a Celtic thing to do. But with the situation we're in, needing a star, needing a talisman, and with so much money, and we need to buy our way out of the problem. Again, this would just be my top candidate. And I say these guys because I just have personal confidence in eye testing them, that they would fit, they would work, they would be good enough. The unknowns of this is always, how do they transition to living in Scotland, to playing in this league, and da 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 da. Some guys work, some guys don't. Some guys are in the middle. You know, they might not rip up trees. So that's the gamble of real life that just nobody can ever forecast for. So if I had the 20 million, I'm buying Saganikov. I'm also buying Sergio Cameo, and I'm also buying Jamie Lawrence. Could you get all 3 of them in for 20 million? Probably not. You're probably needing to go to 25. But like I say, you could maybe use your Bernardos and some players like that as make weights in some of the deals with the La Liga teams. And even at that, we've got 20 million in. Our net spend shouldn't be 0. We should be spending money. We should be going to, we spent 5 million net on transfers. Rafael Borre is a really good one as well. Again, just with the age profile, I'm not too sure, but yeah, he did score the winning penalty against Rangers. And Borre plays for the same team as Bernabe. He's a good, like, I love Colombian strikers. You know, there's just something about them. He's good. I just don't think he's the profile. They just won't do it. You're right, Liam. You're right. You're right. Dennis Linsmeyer. I'll check him out. And I'll check out that fast centre back as well. So he plays for Mainz. This is, oh. Why does this guy... Why is this guy on your radar? 34 years of age? Hasn't kicked a ball in anger as far as I can see. And yeah, I don't get... Is that the wrong name? Borry's a great shot. It's just that's like a 30-year-old guy. Like, it's just not going to happen, isn't it? Yeah, I think Arsen's way out of the question now. Don't think we need him anymore either. Different shape. And, you know, Denmark is a league we should be looking to plunder. The problem is way bigger leagues and teams are all over Denmark already. We're quite late to the party. And we've not really got much of a pitch to some of these guys, because if they're getting offers from good leagues in and around the top five, good clubs in and around the top five and whatnot, we're just not going to be in those conversations. I've deliberately kind of picked guys that I think are in a situation to need us as much as we would need them. So I think that's a valuable position to be in. Oh, is that a different spelling? Fair enough, fair enough. Ruben van Bommel, I don't know. Where is he at the moment? Is it Twente or AZ? Or is it PSV now? Injured. Was doing good, but wasn't it? Who was he at? Was he at before? Yeah, he was at AZ before, now at PSV. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, so Saganikov and Larson quite similar. Yeah, I'd rather Larson Jr. Would I rather Larson? I would rather Larson Jr. because I just think like it would be like living in a fever dream, wouldn't it? Having Larson on the pitch again, it would be so good. So I would let my bias rule my heart here. Equally as credible. Gogic keeps coming up in the chat, man. You know, if it's just a 6-month contract and you need a defender in, like, to play in Scotland only, like, fine. Like, I get it. I did. Was it you that mentioned him yesterday, Brad Cooper? I mentioned him earlier in the stream, so you may want to scroll back a bit. I did a bit of a deep dive into him. I really like him. The main thing with the Bob check was I struggled to scale those guys. And I mentioned this earlier, so I won't repeat myself. You can check that out when you get a chance. Bladu, I like Bladu a lot, but the injury would scare me. Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. Imagine Larson playing under O'Neill. I don't think he's good, but Liam, he is good in his own right. And in his own way, I think he would have a bit of an identity on the pitch where that would kind of be moved away to the side. Stefan Ortega often comes up for the goalkeeper discussion. But again, I think a lot of teams in big leagues want him. And on Man City's, the money he's got at Man City, it's just, yeah, I don't really see that one. Yeah. And by the way, you want to sell merch, you sign a boy called Larson, don't you? Let's just have it. Oh, by the way, yeah, LAY, he's going somewhere, but is he going back to? He's going back to France, I think. But yeah, that's a good. But the problem with LAY is he's too risky. He's not really played this year. That's a bit risky for me. Urbig from Bayern being mentioned by who? By who? Loanees against Saganikov, you could do loan with buy options in it if you want to turn your nose up at the transfer fee. Mika Birov wouldn't be bad. Again, getting him out of Monaco is not going to be easy. He's kind of been at Scotland as well, so I don't think he would see that as a forward step. I know. I'm sorry, Rio. I'm sorry I said that, right? But just, you know, if they fix everything and then sign a guy called Larson, you know, everything would just, wouldn't it? That's kind of what I was meaning there. I was on social media the other day. It seemed to be a source. Interesting. The goalkeeper clog at Bayern is quite real. They've got Urbig, they've got Peretz, they've got Nubel, all lined up to replace Neuer. And I think there's somebody else in the reckoning as well now. So, yeah, getting a cast off from Bayern wouldn't be bad. I would take Urbig. Scored in his last game against Strasbourg. Well, if he's playing against Strasbourg, that means he's back in France. And I think that means he's just moved. Yeah. So, yeah, he's just moved. Look, Frankfurt was December. So you can't play, you know, he's just moved to France. So, yeah, that's not going to happen. Yeah, we can't. Lunin is at Real, isn't he? Quentin Merlin, that's old news, mate. Jack Abraham, I would still be interested in, but I just don't see where he goes in. Haspalat would be funny. Panicelli, I think a lot of money. He is getting a lot of write-ups at the moment. Wonder what transfer market values him at. Yeah, that's not happening. I also like Abilene, who again we've mentioned him before on the channel. I would go for Cameo before Matthias Abilene, but Abilene is still a very good option. Maybe a bit harder to get price-wise. Oh, my computer's just froze. Hopefully it comes back. There we go. I'll need to end the stream shortly. Or what I'll do actually, I'll close a lot of these transfer mark tabs. They're really terrible on your RAM because all the adverts they pump into you. So I'm just going to close a lot of the tabs just to make sure we don't glitch out again. Yeah, a tough one to get done, but very much, again, he's one of my top shouts for striker. I don't think you would get him in this January anywhere near affordable. Troy Parrott is definitely worth a shout, but maybe more of a summer move. Orya Setter, he's doing okay. I'll show you what he's up to. He's at 20. He's breaking into the team and doing well. I'm not sure. Yeah, he's cracking. He's starting to crack in. Doing well. We should have signed him. Quan, I don't think Quan's really been featuring, no. I think he's featured a bit. Played against PSG recently, I think. But I don't think he's been doing great. Yeah, he's playing now. Got a last man tackle, clearance off the line. Last man tackle against Leon. He's doing all right. But he's not been like, that's Celtic, you know. So he's not been ever present. Not so not great either, but Brooks Lennon, we don't need that. Right back. He could play right mid. Hornkamp from AZ. I don't think Hornkamp plays for AZ. Jizz, his name is. Oh, he is at AZ. That's just happened. That's just happened. Wow. When did Jizz go to... Oh, wow. Fair play to Jizz. Jizz has been a very good striker in Holland. He's a bit of a joke, as you might imagine. A bit of an inside joke. Jizz is a good scorer, by the way. He would have been, 27. I don't think Celtic buy 27-year-olds. Is he home Jizz or away Jizz? This year it's been home Jizz. Look at this. At home, man. Absolute bagsman. You know, good striker. I'll be interested to see how he does at AZ. He's just moved there. He won't move to us now. That's like a sailed ship, as it were. But yeah, love a bit of Jizz. And yeah, Maspanisi is worth a shout as well. Again, I just think picking Motherwell's pocket mid-season is maybe an answer, but I don't think it's out and out for sure. Yeah. This is what I mean. Jizz is like a good inside joke, you know. There's tons of stuff that goes along that guy. For sure. There's over 600 of these here, guys. Thanks to everyone that's been tuning in, by the way. I'm not too sure how we're doing for likes. Oh, we've got a lot of likes, guys. Thank you very much. Could we get to 200 or 250 if you're watching this after we've been live? That would be great. The boy, you talk about Jesper Karlsson. I would very much like him, but I would very much like him, but he's on loan at Aberdeen. I don't know if he would get a loan braked or broken to get another loan in, but a right winger would do very well at our team. The jokes are coming, by the way, which is always the case when you talk about Jizz Hornkamp. The jokes are just there forevermore. Because especially when you look at his form and it's just home Jizz, you know he's out with the lads after the game. He scored goals, you know. What about away Jizz? We had a wee bit of away Jizz this year. We had a wee bit of Jizz on the road playing away from home. The jokes are too easy, aren't they? Noah Markman is a great shout, by the way, for defender, but a very high value prospect. Wouldn't be cheap and just not in Celtic's budget, I don't think. Exactly. Thomas Burns. I've tried to kind of talk on spending money on somebody credible. I'm not sure as a defender. Matt Smets, if we were to get a big value defender who fits, if we were to spend big on a defender that fits all of our problems, it's Matt Smets. There's no one else to look at. 22, still got a bit of running his contract, has a punchy. You would need to spend like 15 to 20 on the guy, but you would really get everything you wanted. And I don't think you're really taking much of a gamble. Lennon Miller on loan, I wouldn't mind that really, to be honest with you, but I think he is now getting into the Udinese team. I kind of had it on intel from a guy that I know that's an Udinese fan that's ground level there, that was saying it was a body fat situation with him. And I think, yeah, off the bench the last 2 games, he's starting to feature. So I think you'll see Lennon Miller, second half of the season, start to play Serie A football more often. Maloney is doing a lot of the legwork. We listened to Martin O'Neill before getting into this segment of the show. It's been a really long one today. But Martin O'Neill was final say off. Martin O'Neill wants to say, I signed these guys. Bogus has been in the frame before. Wouldn't be surprised if he was again. But like you said, not really a striker. So not overly a problem solver for us. Bijol, yeah, before he went to Leeds would have been a great shout. And I think the Jamie Lawrence one's very much in a similar frame. You know, Bijol's a man mountain. Jamie Lawrence is quite similar in that way. And yeah, let's be honest, it is a shambles there at the moment. But this is how Celtic save their season. This is how Celtic buy the league back. This is the sort of players that we need. We need a big, dominant centre back, and I've told you the sort of guys. If we want domestic goals, you buy Boyle. We had that discussion, but otherwise, Clydenheis from Gladbach. That's also a nice shout. Again, just getting guys out the Bundesliga is kind of hard. I think Clydenheis has been sniffing around the Germany squad as well, so I'm not sure that's really viable for us to really go and attain. But yeah, try to set it up for what I would buy, what we need, and hopefully now we can maybe see some of the dominoes fall over the next couple of days. Martin O'Neill wants expediency, wants this to be expedited, wherever the word is. And hopefully, man, we've got another signing this week. That would be great. And we can come back and talk about it. We will have previews for games at the weekend coming out later this week. We've got a big collaboration getting recorded on Thursday. So tons of great content. If you guys haven't subscribed already to the channel, please do so. It goes a long way. It costs you nothing to hit the subscribe button. It costs you absolutely nothing to hit the like button. And it goes a long way to supporting the channel and supporting the content. You've got no idea. Forever grateful and doing my best to support it, to give back to you guys for all the support you have given us here on the channel. I've had a great start to 2026. And hopefully now that Martin's back in the building, sanity has been restored to the situation. And he, alongside Maloney, we've got proper 2 hands on the wheel of what we need in recruitment and a better eye for what fits at Celtic. Where there's mentions of Paul Tisdale in passing in the comment section, right? But Tony Cassidy shared this on Twitter and tagged me on it. And I was very disappointed in myself, right, that I hadn't went back to this. Because when I opened it, so Tony posted this and I seen it and I thought, oh, that would be interesting to see. And see when I clicked on it. Now, I'm not going to watch this with yous, right? But what I'll do is I'll link it so you can go and check it out. Make sure to give the guy a subscribe and a like, okay? I'll pop it into the live chat. If you're watching this after we've been live, there's a live chat replay, so it'll be in there as well, all right? But this is, so see what it is at the moment. It was like here when I clicked on Tony's link to listen to it. It was like 10 minutes in, and I couldn't believe I never finished listening to it. I finished listening to it through last night and into this morning, and he says a lot of stuff that I can get behind, and he's got experience he's talking from, don't get me wrong, but there's so much stuff that he says in here. Like, he said that his main transfer strategy at Exeter was signing players who Exeter was their first choice or their last choice, because that gives you the most leverage for negotiation. Feels very Celtic, doesn't it? We do Negren, we do those deals at the beginning of the window, and then we do all of other deals at the end of the window, and there was no in between. So that feels very much like a Tisdale action of strategy. He also made a wee funny flippant comment of when he was unemployed in COVID times, I didn't just go to the golf course. And I thought that's very funny, because I think we know you did go to the golf course with a few of the boys or whatever. And there's a few other bits and bobs like that, that when you hear them now in the fullness of time, they really ring true. I've not went through this guy's channel, but it's called Business of Sport. He's got some other like non-football people on it. I think it's a good channel to follow in case they interview more people like Tisdale, these kind of football professionals. Maybe some get connected to Celtic, maybe then them, or whatever. So check out that channel when you get a chance. Listen to this. It's very revealing. I'm not going to do it with you, but you can check it out in your own time. And make sure to hit subscribe and like on this guy's videos. He did a great job with the interview as well. And one of the comments was, if he was chocolate, he would eat himself. And I think there's a bit of Celtic action into the comments now. Yeah, that's it there. And there's nothing wrong with confidence and people being sure of themselves and whatever. But it was quite revealing listening to it. I can't remember many more quotes than the ones I've already cited, but it was a very revealing listen. So feel free to check that out if you've got nothing else to catch up with in the next couple of days. Thanks everyone who tuned into this one. It was a bit of a bumper show. So thanks to everyone for all the support on this one. I can't say that enough. And tomorrow's Wednesday. I don't know if I will see you tomorrow. Maybe Thursday we're back. Or maybe even Friday. I'm not sure. Stay tuned. You'll know if you hit this. If you hit subscribe, you also get the option to hit the little bell button. And if you hit the little bell button, as soon as any videos go out or go live, YouTube will give you a wee notification so you don't miss any of it. So make sure to do that. Have a great day, everyone. And yeah, from here, the only way is up. Hail, hail, everyone.